Good morning or good afternoon if you're joining me later in the day. Today we are going over sketching skills, and we're going to look into how you take something that is very detailed, maybe you're drawing from a photo, maybe you're drawing from real life, and how to break that down into simpler parts. Since this is art 2, y'all should have some basic sketching knowledge, but think of this as a refresher. Think of this as a cute little way to take something that is very, very detailed and just dial it down. So to start, we've got our yearling, and I actually went through and I made some lines for you. So I made lines here around the body so that it's very clear that this is an oval shape. I went through and I defined the head, which is kind of egg-shaped, and then I made these lines to really show you how the limbs attach to the body. One thing that students often get confused about or have trouble with is really going in and figuring out the shape quality of the legs of animals and how they kind of attach physiologically. So you want to almost think about the skeleton underneath. So this would be where that leg connects to the spinal area, to the pelvic bone, and then this would be where that arm connects to that socket. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm just making sure everyone can see, making sure we're good, we're golden, we're Gucci. All right, so I'm going to start out with this oval shape, and then I'm going to go in and place the egg shape floating above it. You want to determine where you want things to be. So your pencil is a great tool for this. You can almost go in and figure out where things need to lie. This head is poking above the back, so we want to make sure that that is not too far down. So those are the first two shapes we're going to fit in here. And I'm just going to go in with my pencil very gently. So the amount of pressure you place on your paper matters. If you are doing a super bold, really solid line, if you go to erase that, it will not erase fully. You are taking that graphite and embedding it into the paper. So it's not going to budge. You're going to have what I call a ghost image left over. So instead, you want to draw very lightly. And this may be hard for people who write very hard, but you just have to give it a good try, keep going, keep practicing if you need to. So if you draw very lightly, you can fully erase and make changes. Our goal is to draw lightly today. So I'm going to go in and I want to use that light pressure to draw. And I also want to go in and make sure that I'm picking up my pencil enough. You have more control over shorter lines than you do longer lines. So if I were to draw an oval with one long line, it may not look the best. Like, this does not look great. I have very little control over that line. However, if I go in with small motions and short lines, I have a lot more control. And you can see it's going to take more time, but you will have a much better time drawing, I promise. So once you start learning to exert the proper amount of pressure on that pencil, once you start training your brain and your hand and all these little fine-tuning muscles to work the way you want them to, things are going to fall into place a lot easier. So if for some reason the sketching motion, the light line, the light pressure is challenging for you, you may need to practice this outside of class a little bit more. So just keep that in mind. If this is something that is a challenge, you may need to take some time outside of class and practice that skill. So this is the oval for the body. And then we're going to take this head, and it's kind of an egg shape. And I need to make sure it's floating above the body. And I'm just sketching that just like this. I have done nothing difficult, nothing challenging at this point. I've made an oval and I've made an egg, and that's it. So I want you to think about breaking things down into simple shapes and going in and just trying to figure out and problem solve how to draw things that are complicated. So I am going to draw the yearling. I'm going to speed you guys up, and I will stop yapping. If you go outside of the box, that's fine. All right. So I want to go ahead and show you the face. So with the face, and I'm going to zoom you in. I have a like privacy screen on, so I can't see my screen super well. So with the face, we have a very boxy shape for the actual muzzle of this yearling. It almost looks like a little rectangle and then two lines that are going inward. I love how it's trying to focus on my nails. So it's going in. Imagine it almost like a box, and imagine it coming inward. That's kind of the shape that we see here. Very boxy. And then you've got the little nose attached like this. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the face. The ears are kind of football shaped. And then the eyes are on the side of the head because it is a prey animal and not a predator. So we've got those eyes on the side of the head and not in the front. So pay attention to where things are located, pay attention to where things lie, and that will really help. So I'm doing this kind of boxy nose, and it's going to look a little silly at first. It's going to look a little like childish, dare I say. I'm going to go in and just define those football shaped ears. And then I'm going to kind of place the eyes on the side of the head. Then I can go through and start doing detail. So I'm going to go in, and now I can really look at the shape quality. First thing I do, I erase anything that I don't need. So I'm just taking my eraser and bopping that over these sections. I don't need a yearling that is see-through. So yearlings have this fatty hump on their back, and that actually helps to keep them cool. And it helps them to store energy. So this actually is a delicacy in some regions, and they'll eat it as like a super fatty steak. So the more you know. Yesterday in seventh period, we did some investigating, and we found out that the neck, we were like, why does it have so many necks? So we did some research, and we found out that yearlings have a lot of skin here because it helps them to stay cool. It creates what we call more surface area. There's literally more of it, more skin, and they're able to go in and regulate their temperature better, which I thought was really interesting. I, with my little squirrel brain, thought that it was for like predators, like, oh, there's more skin, so they can't attack as easily. I don't know. But no, it's all about them keeping cool. It creates more surface area for them to stay cool. And I draw softly in general. So as a professional artist, I go in and I draw very softly, because if you draw softly, you can make changes. You want to be able to make changes. So I can go in and I can erase if something doesn't look right, if I make a mistake. Erasability is a big deal. And then we have this like little cookie pouch, little loose tummy fat here. And then you can just go through. I soften things and make them look way more natural. I'll take that like leg. If something looks a little too cartoony, I just kind of bring it to a more natural place. If it looks a little bit blocky, I don't want this to look like a Minecraft cow, even though that sounds very cute. I want to make this look a little more natural. And y'all will go through and do all of these things for your own yearling. At this point, I am going to let you work. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.